Well, and I think I got a little bit more of Dr. Una's money to spend. So find some more money. Let me know. David, is that champagne glass because you got on somebody's podcast? Or is that a 10? Which one are you telling us?
All right, I'm good now. I'm good. Okay. Well, I hope everyone is ready. I see a lot of my friends on here. Dr. Tuma is here, Dr. Beckford. After this, we're going to go do EBS. Today's Wednesday. But first of all, I want to say congratulations to everybody who's here. We're super excited that you're here. Today, we're going to be looking at something that is so simple. But what it's going to do is going to set your business up. So not only are you this person who has this brand that is everywhere, but also you have people saying yes to work with you. Because as we said yesterday, we don't want to be like rich and dollar poor. Okay. We don't like, oh, I have all the likes and the comments and and believe me, there's so many people like that. They look so much bigger, but their pockets are not, and their impact is not. And we're not going to leave this halfway. So day one, we looked at the secret to building a dominant brand, that foundational thing, which is knowing her, knowing your ideal client, knowing this one person, right? Inside, outside, their pains, their dreams, all of that. Second day, we then looked at how to take that message that you've taken the time to create and how to put it everywhere. Okay. In fact, I was talking to a doctor in the EntreMD business school who was using this exact formula. And let me tell you what happened. She had been doing videos every week. And this was just today. She had been doing videos every week. She's like, Dr. Una, I need to tell you something. I'm like, I'm always up for something. Tell me. She got invited to go on a stage. She spoke on the stage. Okay. And in the process of doing that, she got 2 new referral sources. She got invited to speak on a TV station, went to go talk on the TV show, got invited to come back on the TV show. Somebody in the studio of the TV show was like, oh my goodness, I want you to come speak at my organization. This is from one video. And so what do you think is happening to her business as she does all of these things? It's crazy. And it's just a snowball because guess what? She's going to do more videos. They're going to create more opportunities. They're going to create more referral sources. They're going to create more clients. And she got clients. The person in the audience too had 2 children that was bringing to her. Okay. So visibility works. Okay. This works. So today we're going to look at how do we get the people to then jump at the opportunity to work with us. Now, if you think like, isn't that manipulation? It's not. Because remember, what you do is you're helping her, one person, your ideal client, and the people like her. You're helping that person get rid of a pain. You're helping them get a solution. So your selling is service. Okay, what I'm going to show you today is service. All right. Now, a few reminders. We are going to have homework today. The reason why we have homework is because I don't want you to walk away from the Visibility Formula Workshop inspired alone. I want you inspired. I want you motivated. I want you in momentum. But I want you to also go like, this was what started the massive change in my business. I want you to see me 3 months from now and say, Dr. Una, you will not believe it. And I'll tell you, of course I will. Tell me. Maybe I'll share it on the next Visibility Formula Workshop. Okay. So I want you to do the homework. It's all intentionally crafted. Makita will tell you, we take time to do this stuff. Okay. So in the Facebook group, Makita, if you can post that link in the comments. If you're not part of the Facebook group, you want to go join it. There are threads for the homework every single day. If you have missed any, there's no problem. You can go do it. Dr. Una does not judge. Okay. Okay. So we live, when you go out to put your message everywhere, it is literally the same as if somebody went to the hospital to have a baby. Okay. Let me tell you what you don't do. You don't leave the baby at the hospital. All right. You bring the baby home. Okay. You bring the baby home. So you've identified who her is, your ideal client. You've gone on these podcasts, YouTube channels. You've gone in these Facebook communities where you've done lives. You've talked to all these referral sources and you're out there. Okay. Now you want to bring them home. Okay, you want to bring them home because that's where the transaction takes place, right? You want to bring them home. Same way, it's like dating. Okay, so you went on a first date. That's you going to be a guest on someone's YouTube channel, talking to a referral source, doing all of that. The one thing you don't ask on your first date for most people is, will you marry me? right? You don't just say, hi, it's so nice to meet you. Never met you before. Will you marry me? For some people, this is their reality, and that's okay. But you have to agree that's the minority. So we're going to create this place that is like a home for these, like for if you attract 1,000 of your ideal clients, we want to bring them somewhere. And in that place, you have the opportunity to build a relationship with them. Then you can ask them to marry you. Okay. So I want you to type in the chat. We're going to pretend you're talking to your neighbor. Tell them, don't be weird. Don't have babies and leave them at the hospital. Don't meet somebody on the first date and the first word out of your mouth is marry me. Don't be weird. Okay, so type that in the chat. Don't be weird. It's not you. You're telling your neighbor. Don't be weird. Okay. Now, now what I'm going to show you, I'm saying it again, is going to be simple. Okay. But if you do this, it will be the equivalent of getting a full-time employee in your business. This full-time employee does not need to be paid. This full-time employee does not call out sick. This full-time employee does not have an attitude. This new employee is always on time, is not browsing Facebook when they should be working. This is a great employee. So let me know in the chat, how many of you want to meet her? Because if you tell me yes, we can talk about this new employee. All right? Will be working for you 24/7 and doesn't get tired. She's amazing. Okay, I've had her employed in my business for the last 5 years. She's awesome. Well, 4 years. She's awesome. Okay, now we call this employee your HQ. Okay, think of it of your headquarters. So you have your message, you go everywhere to spread the news, like, oh, I've solved this problem, you know, like you can get this outcome, right? And then you bring them back to your HQ. You bring them back to your home base. You bring them back to your headquarters. Okay. While they're there, they will get to know you. They'll get to like you. They'll get to trust you. They'll get to know you're the person for the job. They'll get to know that if I can work with this person, my life will change. Okay. So what is your headquarters? It is your YouTube channel and or your blog and or your podcast. 1, 2, 3. YouTube channel, podcast, blog. Okay. Now you might say, and how am I going to do all three? You can do one. There are people who are running multi-million-dollar businesses who have one. One is enough. Now, as you get bigger and you grow your team and you do all the things, you can add all three, but one is enough. Okay. Now, there are many people who have podcasts, YouTube channels, and blogs that are a complete waste of time because it's not strategically done. I'm going to give you the strategy. It can be a time suck that creates burnout, or it can be a full-time employee. Which one do you want? I see so many, I'm like, man, this is a lot of work for nothing. It could be a time suck that creates burnout. It could be a full-time employee. Okay. So what I'm going to talk to you about is how to make your HQ a full-time employee, working to attract your ideal people, working to nurture them, working to get them to say, you know what, I'm just going to work with Dr. High. Dr. High, you're right in front of me. So I'm just going to work with Dr. High. That's what I'm going to do. Okay. So we're going to do this. It's not going to be a complete waste of your time. Like me, you will say podcasting is one of the things, or whichever one you choose, is one of the things that changed, like radically changed my life. I started podcasting in November of 2019. And if like, it is the one thing I will never change, is the one thing I didn't see coming. It has been a full-time employee in my business. 99% of the people who are in the EntreMD business school, or who have worked with in any capacity, will tell you, I listened to a podcast, I listened to a lot of episodes, I got wins. I was like, if I can get these wins from free stuff, I'm joining her community. There are people who said, you know, I've been listening to your, I'm like, why did you join the business school? Oh, I was listening to a podcast episode and you asked me to. I'm like, huh, go figure, right? It works. And it works. You may say, okay, that would work for a business education company. When I was in private, like I was actively seeing patients in private practice, I had, it was like the equivalent of a YouTube channel, but it was a Facebook Live I did every week. And every week I'd come out, Legacy Parent Show, talking to parents about confidence and, how to confidently parent their kids and get rid of the overwhelm and the insecurities, all those things that come with parenting. And when I started slowing down on my schedule, I had to stop the show because people are like, oh, I saw your video. And I was like, of course, this is where I come, full-time employee. So let me show you the strategy. Okay. Let me show you the strategy. Number one, if you get these three things, somebody else may have 3 million downloads and you may have 100,000 and you will run circles around them every day, all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. Number one, talk only to your ideal client. This is a discipline. I don't talk about this today to this person today, that person tomorrow. I am talking to my ideal client 99. See, I gave you 0.1. 99% of the time, I gave you 1%. That's it. 99% of the time. So for instance, when you come on the EntreMD podcast, you know that I'm going to be addressing physician entrepreneurs. I'm going to talk about business principles that make your business successful. I'm going to talk about mindset shifts that you need to experience for your business to be successful. I'm going to talk about, the questions you have. Many of you, I've reached out and said, what questions do you have? I'm doing another batch of recordings. I want to answer your questions on the podcast. I only talk to my ideal client. So if someone comes and says, oh, I want to be a guest on your show. If they don't talk to my ideal client, they don't get to be a guest because my podcast is a full-time employee and we are disciplined. My podcast talks to my people 100% of the time. So how many of you have listened to podcasts and you got confused? Because one episode was about one thing, another episode was talking to a completely different kind of person, like maybe 20% of it is relevant. How many of you have had that experience? And then eventually you just unsubscribe. That's what happens. You talk to your people, okay? If you get this one thing right, like I just talked to my person. This is why I had you name the person so that you can literally show up and talk to that one person. Now there are hundreds of thousands maybe of people but each one of them will be like, you're in my head, you're answering my question. And they're like, oh me and my friends were having this conversation about this thing. And they take it and share it to 20 other people. Why? Because you're talking to them. You're talking to them. Okay. Do you guys get that? You can create an HQ. So podcast, YouTube, blog, that will create millions in revenue for you if you can learn this discipline. So discipline number one, I talk only to my ideal person. Hi, Dr. Judy. Dr. Judy says, what about Facebook, Instagram, email list? So I wouldn't put Facebook and Instagram as your HQ because Mark Zuckerberg can decide I don't want you on my platform anymore, and that's the end, right? So I don't put that. Email list, we would do that, but I'll talk about that in a second, how we link that. Okay. So because the idea is we are in a binge economy. We are in a Netflix economy, right? Like how many of you have gone to watch a show where you're looking and it was like one season with 3 episodes? We're like, who has time for that? Like, I need episodes. Thank you very much, right? It's the same thing. So when people find out about you, they want to be able to binge you. If you don't have an HQ, they can't binge you. But guess what? If they're binging you, this is your full-time employee telling them, like, you need to work with this person. She can change your life. All of those. That's what will be going on, right? So binge economy. So we give people to binge on. Don't fight the culture. So the first thing is you talk only to this person. The second thing is in your content, you give her wins. Okay, so her, him, whoever your ideal client is. So some people say, oh, you just tell them the fluffy stuff. And when they come to work with you, you give them all the stuff. I could charge for the EntreMD podcast because it's not fluff. Same way I could charge for this workshop because it's not fluff. Don't give people fluff. Give them wins. People don't work with you because of your information. They work with you because they want help with implementation. Because sometimes people say, if I give them this stuff, then why would they still work with me? Right? But there's Google and they're still working with you. Right? There's ChatGPT and they're still working with you. It's not information. Right? So give your people wins. What that means is you want to think, who's my person? What's their pain? What's the outcome they want? So what that means is, you know your person. You know at least 21 questions right now that they're asking. That's 21 episodes. That's 21 blogs. Like, don't try to create content. Nobody wants content. People want solutions. Nobody wants content. Okay, so if people come on, I was talking with the doctor earlier today, and she's like, my business, I want to bring it to 500,000. My practice, I want to bring it to $500,000 this year. I'm like, let's make it happen. And so we start working through all of that. I can take that whole conversation, because guess who else has that question? Many other people. And I'm like, how to grow your private practice to $500,000 in 12 months. Boom, done. What did I do? I gave them wins. Do you see what I mean? So they're asking a question. You're here, your private practice, you see patients. Every time you walk in a room and they ask you a question, just flip the question to a topic. That's your episode. Don't make it complicated. Give her wins. Answer her questions. Show her what is possible. Address those myths she believes that are holding her back. Like, just serve your person. Don't create fancy content. I would see people come on and they would create podcast episodes like, understanding my unique blah, blah, blah method. Ain't nobody care about your method. They don't care about it. They want their questions answered. They want their pain points gone. They want to know what's possible. They want to know the mistakes they're making. Right? That's what they want. Dr. Davis says, I care a little, right? Right? So we don't, because sometimes the trap in content is we get so impressed by our processes that we create all these episodes about our processes. Nobody cares. They just want their pain to go away. We don't listen to podcast episodes to hear about, or watch a YouTube channel to hear about their process. Like, I'm not talking entertainment. I'm talking about life change. We want what we want. We want what we want. Okay, so give her wins. Number three. And number three is a biggie. Now, you can't really do it till you do number 1 and 2, but if you miss number 3, then it doesn't work. Invite her regularly to work with you. Invite her regularly to work with you. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen webinars where at the end of it, the person was like, I just wanted to give them so much value, and they walked away. And I'm like, and then you're mad you don't have patients and you don't have clients. Like, come on, right? Invite people to work with you. So let's do a check here. How many of you believe in what you do? You believe you can change lives. You believe if somebody works with you, they will get a solution. How many of you truly believe it? If you don't have to say I do, but how many of you truly believe it? Okay. Now, you believe it. I want you to hear me. You are wired to solve a problem. There are actual people who have those problems. There are actual people who can't sleep at night because of those problems. There are actual people, and you've met them, who will tell you, oh my goodness, this started 4 years ago. I wish I met you 4 years ago. So when you show up and you say, hi, this is who I am, this is what I do, come work with me, you are helping. You are not being a manipulative, greedy doctor. You are helping somebody who has a pain get a solution. Selling is serving. Selling is serving. It's you serving your people. There are people who say no because they're not your ideal person, or they're not ready that very moment. But you have enough people say yes for you to have the impact you want and for you to create the financial freedom you want to create. So you talk only to her. You give her wins and you invite her regularly to work with you. If you will create an HQ, and for instance, you're in private practice, and you're like, oh, I don't want to do YouTube. Hear me. There are things you talk about all day, every day, and you're like, if somebody asks me about this one more time, I'm going to pull my hair out. So that's a YouTube video. They're the things that come and they terrorize your front desk about. Why do I have a copay? Why do I have a deductible? All that stuff. Get your office manager to do a YouTube video on that. And when people come and ask questions, you're like, here's a link, here's a link, here's a link, here's a link. Right? So don't think about it as content. Think about it as I'm saying what I always say, but with the camera on, or with the podcast mic on, or I wrote it as a blog. That's it. Okay? All right. So if you're going to do these three things, I want you to type in the chat 3 for 3. You have the discipline of talking only to her. You're only talking to her. You're giving her wins, and you're going to invite her to work with you. The first few times, it might feel weird, but you'll be okay. Right? Okay. All right. So, hi, Dr. Ram. Dr. Ram is a total boss at this. He just did TED Talk. Yes. Okay. Okay. So this is your homework. Okay. And then I'm going to show you some real life people who've done this. This is your homework. I'm going to have you, number one, you're going to decide what platform, what am I going to own? Even if you're like, I don't know how I'll do that and all that, no problem. Just decide. This is either you starting or you up leveling. So maybe you've had a YouTube channel, but you just throw a random thing, or you have a podcast and I just put on my mic and I just talk. Every time somebody says that, I'm like, oh my God, stop it. like you're turning a full-time employee into like dead weight. Okay. So maybe you're up leveling yours, right? So what is that? Podcast, YouTube, blog. Okay. If you're an introvert and you say blog because you don't want to be on camera, you don't want to touch the mic, I'm an introvert just for you. Okay. So let's rethink that. Okay. Blog if it's a strategy. Okay. So you're going to choose, and then you're going to write out your first or next 5 topics. First or next 5 topics. So the questions they ask, convert those to topics, things that like if they could sit with you for 30 minutes, what would they ask you? Turn those into topics, right? So you don't have to write out the whole outline or anything, just the next 5 topics. Okay, the next 5 topics, just write those out. So there'll be a thread in the Facebook group. You're going to do that. Makita, of course, is going to look through that and look for how to spend my money. And it's okay. That's how we roll. Okay. But I want you to do this. Please understand this. It is as simple as this. Like if you do this, then you have a full-time employee, because guess what? YouTube is still there 24/7. There are people who would tell me, Dr. Una, I'm done with the episodes. I'm like, what do you mean done with the episodes? I started from episode 1. I'm like, there are 400 episodes. Yes, I've listened to all of them. If you don't give them 400 episodes, they can't listen to them. Do you see what I mean? Some will listen and they'll get wins. Some will listen and they'll come work with you. That's just the way it goes. Okay? So I love the commitments that I see. But in this time, if we as physicians can do this and own this, it will change everything for us. So pretty pleased with 17 cherries on top. This is not just about you. This is about you. This is about the doctors you can be an example for. These are about your clients that you're about to change their lives. This is about everybody. Okay. So I love that I see that. Okay. I'm going to bring on somebody in a second who's rocked this visibility theme. Okay. So you don't have to only hear from me. But before we do that, these things that you've heard over the next 3 days, tomorrow we're going to be talking about how to do all, because maybe you're here and you're thinking, oh my goodness, how am I going to do all these things? Okay. How are you going to do all these things in less time rather than more time? How do you do these things without burning out? Okay. So I cannot tell you how many podcasts I have because it's about 4. Don't ask. I run multiple businesses. I have 4 kids. I've been married for almost 18 years at this point. I homeschool my older 2 kids and all of that stuff. And I do not look like I'm falling apart. There's a strategy behind that. And I'm going to show you that tomorrow. Okay. So we've done a lot of stuff here. And, for many of you, you're like, Dr. Una, I got this. I'm good. I'm ready to go. You have what you need. Okay. I do not do this so you cannot implement it. That's not the idea. There's no strings or anything. But there are some people like me. Okay. There are some people like me. So maybe you're here and you're like, man, I just love all of this. And I want to work with a doctor, with a mentor like Dr. Una, somebody who's run multiple businesses, right? There's a business education one, there's a marketing agency, there's a private practice, and all of that. Has been an entrepreneur for a really long time. I want to be in a community of people who are just like that. Like you're telling me they're physician entrepreneurs who are killing it gathered in one place. I want to be there, right? Maybe you're like, I love all of this and I've committed to do it, but I really do need some accountability. I have the work ethic, but these are new. These are a little nerve-wracking for me. So if that's you, and you may be a private practice doc, or you may be a DPC doc, or you may be a coach, a consultant, a speaker, but you're like, this is what I want, like I want in, I have good news for you, okay? There is a place, there is a container that exists like that, and it's the EntreMD Business School, okay? So you're gonna meet a doc who's here, and just because I want you to hear her story, okay? Now, the EntreMD Business School, we'll talk about that in a second, maybe after she's done, but it's a place where you will get the mentorship, right? You will get to meet with me, like in a group setting, but every week. Like once we're done with this, we have EBS, we're gonna be talking about profitable speaking. Gonna be so much fun. Okay, so you get to be in a container where we get to meet every week. This does not have to be a thing that starts and stops. You get to be in a container with fellow physician entrepreneurs. And we're talking anything from I just started to I'm doing 8.5 million in revenue. People in different industries, which is not a problem. It sets the stage for innovation because people in private practice are now doing best principles from coaches, like it's just insane. You get accountability. Dr. Beckford is here. She runs our CEO Power Hour. Every week you get together and you just come and do those things that will move the needle forward in your business that you always procrastinate on. How many of you, let me know in the chat, you know what that is? Like, I know this will be really good for my business. It's been on my to-do list every day for the last 90 days. It happens to the best of us. And that's why we built that. We have monthly challenges. We have in-person events. We do that to give you the accountability so you can keep moving. Okay, so there is a place, okay? And you may be wondering like, well, how do I know if I'm the kind of person who will thrive there? And I'll tell you who that person is. That's a person committed to their goals. You've decided this business thing, we're gonna work it. Like I need someone to help me and all, but this is happening. If you're committed, if you're coachable, meaning, no, I've done it this way the entire time. No, we can try new things, right? You're coachable, you're open. And you're somebody who, if something happens or you're struggling with something, you don't retreat. You lean in like, hey guys, this is what is going on with me. Who can help me answer this? You will thrive, in the business school if that's you, okay? All right, so your next step really is turning an application because it is like application only. So entremd.com/business, you can turn an application. The way that works is we'll review it. Makita will reach out to you. You've met Makita. She's amazing. Makita will reach out to you. And, we'll talk about the process. We'll help you. So the idea is not hard sales. You've been on here. We don't do hard sales. The idea is for you to get a point where you're like, absolutely, this is what I need to do. We'll get you enrolled. Absolutely not, right? Like we just want you to have a firm decision. So even if you're kind of unsure, fill out the application. It's not a binding document. Okay, and then you get on a call with Makita. So let me bring on the amazing Dr. Catherine Toomer, we've worked together since before EBS was a thing. And she rocks the visibility formula. Dr. Toomer, how are you?
I am fine, thank you.
I am so glad you're here. Now you can't get Dr. Toomer here on Tuesday because she's doing her visibility thing. She has this whole commitment going on. So Dr. Toomer, I'll let you, briefly introduce yourself and let's have some visibility chats here.
All right. Well, I am Dr. Catherine Toomer. I'm a family medicine and community health physician, and I'm the founder of Total Weight Care Institute. And I help people create very successful weight care practices, either as patients, so that they can have lifelong weight loss, or as physicians, so they can give their patients compassionate and complete weight care that they want and deserve. And so that is what I do. I'm also someone who has built a pretty successful business around my own story, which was essentially I lost 100 pounds when I was very, very ill and turned my chronic disease around. And so I help other people prevent and turn their diseases around as well through weight care. And Dr. Una has helped me tremendously because initially I didn't want to tell my story, even though my whole business model, my whole was structured around a program I created for myself almost 25 years ago. And I didn't want to tell anyone my story because I wanted to hide. And so that was where I started. Was telling my story. I refused to make videos. I would had difficulty speaking without saying and ah every other word. And so I didn't feel that I was appropriate to make videos. I didn't think I was appropriate to speak in front of anybody, to be honest. And so when I started, they were horrible. I mean, I just said I'm going to do it because otherwise she's just getting on my nerves, and I'm kidding. I knew she was right. And so I went ahead and I did a few. They were really bad, but I did them. I posted them. I kept doing more. I kept posting them. And then someone saw one of my videos and asked me to do a TED Talk. I thought it was a pretty average video, but apparently he thought there was something there. Actually, what it was, Dr. Una, as she was watching my video, she goes, "They're really, really good, but you just need to smile." And I was like, okay. So I smiled more, and he was like, "You have such a nice presence. You should do some, TED Talk." And I said, okay. And so I did a TED Talk, and that led to other paid speaking, and that led to other credibility, really. Even though my TED Talk has absolutely nothing to do with my business, it was just the idea that I did one was very important. The other thing that I did was I kept doing things over and over again. It was a very simple formula, but it seemed so difficult for me until I kept doing it. And then it got easier and easier and easier and easier. And then it got to the point where I didn't have to make videos anymore because I didn't need to edit. I could just go on live. And that's what I do now every Tuesday. And as a result, I have been offered several opportunities: radio, TV, news. And then today, which I haven't had a chance to announce, I just got offered a television show. So I will see where that goes. I haven't looked at contracts or anything because I'm still, trying to.
We're not going to not celebrate that, contract or no contract. You were offered a whole TV show.
So we'll see.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
Yeah, people say it is. Okay, I'm not going to downplay it at all. It is definitely something that's bigger than what I've ever done. It is an audience that's larger than I've ever had. And so whatever it turns out to be, it's still something. And I think that's pretty, and it's based on the fact that I've been doing Tuesday lives. I have what's called Dr. Tumor Talks every Tuesday at 7 o'clock on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And the only reason why it turned out to be Dr. Tumor Talks was because when I joined TikTok, there was already a Dr. Tumor, so I threw talks at the end of it. And now it's become a thing. And so that's my visibility. And it just seemed like it just happened in little increments. And I just got better and better and better and better. And it got easier and easier and easier and easier. And then it got fun. That was the amazing part. It is now fun. I will do a live without thinking about it because someone asked me a question, or because I happen to think of something, or because I did my makeup that particular day and I was like, oh, I look cute, so I'm going to do a live. Whatever the reason, I just do them. And I mean, to me, that's just the most amazing thing. The skill, the opportunities, and the support. What's really been really, really nice is that, one, I've been able to ask anyone in EBS, can I be on your podcast? Yes, 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 yes. For a year, my first year of doing lives, I wasn't comfortable at first doing it by myself. So I put out and I said, would anybody like me to interview them? I had a lot. Within 30 minutes, every single week was filled for the whole year. I had to shut it down at the end of the year. This was in February, and I was filled to December. And 30 minutes. And that was just for me. That was just from EBS. That I hadn't even had a chance to ask anybody else. And so that has always been very, very helpful. The support from other members, people amplifying what I do, referring people to me. It's just been an amazing experience, and it's still snowballing. I don't know where it's gonna go, but it's still going.
We just roll with it. We just
I
go
just
where it takes
I know.
us. Now you dropped a lot of gems, and I'm sure people got it. But see, this is the reason a container like EBS exists, right? It's the lit. It's putting in the reps and putting in the reps long enough, right? Because videos we're talking 2019, 2020, right? When you start, not regularly, but when you started doing them, and then you got to where you're doing regularly and all of those kind of things, it's it's doing it and doing it long enough and not quitting on it. And
Yeah.
sometimes you just need that supportive community. You need the mentorship, you need the accountability to keep going, right? And to keep going at it till it becomes fun, till it opens doors, till it does all of those things. And like if she were to, me and Dr. Toomer, we've always had a fight. Dr. Toomer does not know her numbers. She knows them better now after
I'm getting
almost 5 years.
I'm
Yeah,
getting
what do you
better.
say?
I'm getting better.
You are getting better, right? But she's had 1,000% growth in business and all of that. And a lot of it is tied to visibility, right? So, Dr. Toomer, there's somebody, and this is somebody who's a great fit for the school, right? They've thought about it. They may have even been on multiple visibility formula workshops and created wins, and they're just on the fence because of the fear, right? That comes with doing something new, right?
Yeah.
You've been in that position
Oh,
before, right?
absolutely.
Actually, many times, because we've moved through levels here. What would you say to that person?
I would say that just like any journey, when you get in your car, you can't see the destination once you started. You know where you want to go. Sometimes you may not even know exactly how to get there, so you need GPS. And essentially, what EBS is a GPS system packaged nicely because it gets you to where you want to go. But not only does it get you to where you want to go, and this is something that I've often said, it doesn't just get you where you're going to go, it helps you so you're like, you know what? There's this really great attraction right here, and it's not a distraction, it's an attraction. Should I take it? Should I get off this exit, stay there for a minute before getting back on my journey? And sometimes that exit takes you to a different journey, but no matter where you're going, you still have that GPS to guide you no matter where you're going. And that is that having that level of backup and support is invaluable. The other that I would say is learning how to embrace your fear. One of the beautiful things I learned about EBS is that our fear is almost celebrated. It's like, you just do it scared, you do it messy, you do it, it's like there's such a support that you really just don't know what you don't know until you know it. I know that sounds really vague and stuff, but it really it's hard. It's a difficult. I've said this before. It's so hard to explain, but essentially, um, there is no other place where every aspect of who I am has been celebrated, supported, and grown, other than in my family. I mean, my parents did that, but then it's like having cousins and sisters and aunts and uncles and everybody all together just helping you along. And no matter what question, even if it's, I don't even know if I want to have a business. Oh, there's going to be someone pulling something out of you and saying, yes, you do. And here it is. If you're here, it's because you wanted something different. And then you have people helping you find that what it is that you're good at, what you're passionate about. Whether you're getting distracted by something, that's me. I'm a pivoter. I like change. So I need people to help me say, no, 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 stay. Stay, don't deviate. You're doing well. Just stay where you are. And then some people just don't like change. And so therefore they want to focus on one thing. And it's like, okay, that's fine. But you have people around you who you can bounce things off of. And that has been the most valuable part. I know I'm talking a lot, but one of the things that I do want to say, started working with Dr. Una one-on-one when we were early on. And so when she created EBS, I almost felt betrayed. I was like, we we were working so well together. Why are you doing this? Why are you pulling all these people in? I mean, this you were mine. What? You know? And so for a while I didn't join because I was just like, I was so upset. I'm not joining EBS. And then I started seeing things happen with people that I knew. I'm watching them grow, watching their confidence, watching their thing. And I kept asking him, like, where did you find such and such? Oh, I learned it in EBS. And where did you, I learned it. I said, all right. So I joined. Best thing I've ever done. It's been 4 years. Some people come and go, but as long as EBS is in existence, I'll probably be here. Because it's just, I haven't seen it anywhere else.
Oh man. All right. Let's show Dr. Toomer some love in the comments. Thank you for sharing. I took some notes here, right? Like EBS is a nicely packaged GPS. I'm gonna use that one. I didn't know you were mad when I started EBS, but good to know. I'm glad it worked out.
I'm getting more comfortable in my exploration and expression, but yeah, I've been thinking a lot, because every time you bring this on, and what's beautiful about this visibility formula, one, is that every time I hear it, I learn something new. It works every single time, and it never changes. It just never changes. I've changed. So when I hear it, I've changed it. A different person hears it. And so I use the information differently, but the information stays the same.
Love it. Thank you for sharing. And I'm so glad about, for your snowball. And I can't wait to hear more about this TV show and all of that. But congrats. And
thank you.
I will tell you, like what you said about every time you listen to the visibility formula is different. Guys, if you look, and maybe they'll identify themselves, if you look on the attendees, you have a lot of people who are from the EntreMD Business School because they are so coachable. It's so crazy so it's like, I've heard it before. I hang out with Dr. Una in the Facebook group. I hang out with her every Wednesday at 7 p.m. But let me come here with a growth mindset, with an open mindset, and let me take this even further. Right? These are the kind of people that you get to be with. So Dr. Toomer is a total rock star, a total unicorn. In EBS, we say we're unicorns doing unicorny things. And so for those of you who are coming to join us, now you had, this who's going to be one of your classmates, but it's just evidence. So you've been thinking about it. It works. Okay. So like I said, next step is to fill out an application on entremd.com/business. And like if you're thinking about it, and especially if you've thought about it, right? Like you and I, we've been on the podcast for a while. You've been on a number of, visibility formulas and all of those kind of things, then a container where you can execute on it, like for the long haul, and dare your fears and do the things will change your life radically. Okay. So turn in your application. And I think, Makita, I did forget that I have some bonuses just because I like to appreciate people who are fast action takers. And so, what happens if you don't think you're coachable? If you ask that question, you probably are coachable. Chances are you are coachable. Coachable people will get off the call and be like, I'm not about that life. That's it. So you're probably okay. It doesn't mean you don't think, right? Like you still have I don't, like, for instance, Dr. Toomer, the first time I talked to her about video, she didn't do a video. She was like, whatever, right? That didn't mean she wasn't coachable because there's fear there. There's all these other things you need to work through. That doesn't mean you're not coachable. Do you see what I mean? Like, so coachable is just like, nobody can tell me what to do. I know everything. This is the way it only is. Yeah. I've seen people talk about that and they start name dropping and doing all the things. That's very different. And so for the people who decide, turn in applications, decide to join today, the first 3 people who do the pay in full get a one-on-one call with me. And that's this beautiful mind in your business for 30 minutes. I'm very humble, but I will tell you, I can change your life in 30 minutes. Just so you know. Okay. So that will be the bonus for the first 3 people. Okay. Now I have Dr. Toomer. She's like, can I take advantage? We will need to re-enroll you. Yeah, I'm just kidding. We'll figure it out. No, but Dr. Cynthia, I love the confidence. I've done this for a long time, and that is the absolute truth. That's my zone of genius, right? Like, I can look at a business that's completely upside down, and in 20 minutes we can rearrange it. Like that's my zone of G. I know what I'm good at. Okay, I have one more person to bring on. Now, this is Dr. Sarah Merritt. She is a total rock star. And I'm going to bring her on and we're going to talk about, first of all, Dr. Sarah, I have questions. First of all, I'm like, you were already a very successful entrepreneur before you came into the business school. So we're going to talk about, wait, what, why? Okay. But before that, I'd love you to introduce yourself so everybody can see why I'm so excited you're here.
Yeah, hi, I'm Dr. Sarah Merritt. I'm an anesthesiologist and pain management doctor. I have a private practice in Bowie, Maryland, and I'm also board certified in addiction medicine. We have a branch of the practice where we do addiction medicine. We actually have 5 full-time equivalents providers in the practice, and I did have a multiple 7-figure practice before I joined EntreMD Business School.
So what was the driver? What was missing? Why did you say, I'm gonna show up in this place, I'm gonna join this group of physician entrepreneurs, some of them who are not even in private practice? Like, what was that? What was the driver?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. There's definitely a couple of things that I've found, but I think I was interested in the community. Because it's lonely out there, if you're in business and as the leader, even if you have good relationships with your staff, it's not the same as a colleague, another physician, another business owner. And those are just people that can support you in a different way. And that is something that I have found in the business school. And that really I was looking for, it's not something that everybody can relate to. And so this is a group of, physicians who, are deep in their business in different ways. And I would say that, I learned things from the doctors who have different types of businesses, the doctors who have coaching, the speakers, they just market themselves in a different way, and there are lessons and things that I can take from it too. So it's not like that's for somebody else. It's really the concepts are there, and there's a lot of common threads.
Love it. And what you say is true. And I think that the more successful you become, the truer it is that entrepreneurship can be lonely. Now, for physician entrepreneurs, it doesn't have to be. We have containers now, but it can be really lonely where you're talking about challenges and they're like, you're running a multi 7-figure business, like cry me a river. You know what I mean? But you know what that's like. So and we've really loved having you in the school. What would you say being in the school has made possible for you in your business?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've kind of joked with Dr. Una like that, I felt like a remedial student because it's not like I'm always so impressed with these like folks that are starting their business that just have this like explosive growth. And I've gone from having no practice to a full practice. And I'm like, my practice didn't really change right away. But I think like I've been changing and like the wins are there. But it's not something that like was really like super evident on paper, like, in month 3 or anything. It's a process and to in my case, like to change the business to get different results, like I have to change. And so I have experienced that in the business school as I'm continuing to be in it and continuing to engage in it, hashtag EBS for life. That there are those of us that joke about just continuing forever because it's really it's an expense that makes sense, frankly, if you're a business owner and there's return on investment. So
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. And that's the thing, right? Like it's the I have to change first. That's the hardest work. That's the work we really don't like to do, especially so Dr. Sarah, in your case, right? Especially when you're already a successful entrepreneur, it's like, do I want to go through the transition of becoming a different person, becoming a better leader, being confident, hiring different kinds of people, making some decisions and all of that. So that's a very powerful thing that you talked about. That's you changing, right?
yeah.
Okay. So
And
you,
just recognizing that what got you there, what got you here won't get you there, that it's just, if you want something different, you're going to have to do something differently. And then what is that?
yeah, yeah. So that's your personal transformation for everyone. That's such a valid, that's the first thing. And in EBS, we'll work on that a lot. Like, so yes, we do strategy and all that stuff, but there's a lot of mindsets, there's a lot of new habits to build and all of that, because we need to change. Whether you're starting or whether you're scaling, like we have to change, right? Like the business doesn't change without us, right? And that's work, and that's hard work, and you need mirrors put in front of you so you can see and all of that. But so talk to me about, now you've started that process of change. And I say started because we never outgrow it, right? Like every time we
Right.
want a new level, we have to change again. But what are some of the wins that were created because of your personal transformation?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so many. Gosh, I mean, probably just any win that I've had recently. I think I would say that we're in a really good place with our staff, which is always a challenge, and that we've been able to, recruit and retain quality staff. We've been able to expand our library of standard operating procedures. And if you're a practice owner, like that's the only way you're going to have freedom to do things other than run your business, is if you can explain to someone how to run your business. That there is like that process is necessary. I mean, those are a couple that really come to mind that have been where like the rubber meets the road lately. I think there have been others with just learning to ask more, and frankly, like being inspired by other people in the business school. I'll tell you a little anecdote that I was relating to Makita earlier, because I was I own my practice real estate. We have a neighbor. There's only one suite next to us where we share a wall. And so I had reached out to my neighbor maybe 6 months ago, and we have like an ask-a-thon challenge sometimes in the EntreMD business school, and we do lots of asking. And so I asked this neighbor, like, hey, call me if you are ever thinking about selling your office condo, because I would be interested to look at it and see the opportunity. And so then, sure enough, a couple of months later, he says, oh, well, my people's lease is coming up. I'd be interested to talk about it. And it's giving me a chance to expand my practice. So,
Oh,
uh,
wow. That's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah, it is. It is. There's so much amazingness. And, that's a win, created recently that, will have big, financial implications for my practice. And, was really, inspired by some of the work in the business school.
Wow, that's really awesome. And like you talk about some of the pain points that are big pain points for the bigger practice, right? So when you talk about like attracting and retaining great staff, like we're in the middle of the great resignation, right? Like there, like people are like, we can't find people anywhere. And so to have that win is such a big win. And then something, like expanding your SOPs, because again, this is, if you build something big and you want to put yourself in a position where you don't have to be there 24/7, there is some dirty foundational work that needs to be done, right?
Yeah.
Like training people, creating systems, documenting SOPs, and all of those things. And these are things that the ROI is huge, but you don't see it right away, right? It's kind of like you're building a building that's going to have 100 floors. It's going to take you months to finish that foundation, right? And that's really, really what you're doing. And to think that the Ask-a-thon challenge, people were asking for new clients and you were asking for a building, I just like that. That's like total boss moves. Just throwing that out there. That's amazing.
Yeah.
What would you
All
say
asking.
to, like, so this has been, well, actually, I'll ask you this. Now, has all of this, like you working on yourself, working in your business, creating this wins and all that, has it spilled over to your personal life? Like, has it spilled over to your personal life? Wins created there as well. I ask
Yeah.
this because it's a whole package.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's spilled over into my personal life in a lot of ways. And I've always, I've had a positive family life. But, I have taken inspiration from Dr. Una and implemented a weekly date night with my husband to make sure we have isolated time together where we can get out. And he's a big fan, and we take the opportunity to do something fun. Even date night can be we go work out together, but just like some time spent, something positive that we do together. That's been a big one. I think the other is, I just really continue to recognize like the preciousness of life and taking opportunities to travel or have experiences with my family. The ACC championship game is going to be near me on Saturday, and I think one of my favorite teams might get there. And I bought some tickets earlier this week because I want to, and I have the freedom to, right? That like, okay, this is something that's a little expensive, but a really enjoyable thing to do with my family. Yeah, and so I really think it's created a lot of great things for myself and my family, and I think I continue to model like some growth mindset to my husband and my kids that is really positive.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, in EBS, we talk about EBS Junior. We have never had a call where there were not kids who showed up on the call. It has never happened. The school has been open for almost 4 years now. It has never happened. And to see the ripple effect of what we do in our families, that's like the best. We've had so many husbands, like when it's time to renew, and they're like, I don't know, I'm thinking about it. And that's what's like, you're a different person. Sign up for another year. Mm-hmm. So that's fun. So what would you say to the person who, like, of course, we're not trying to convince somebody who this is not for, but this is a person who would be a great fit for the school, would come in, is coachable, is committed, and all of that, but they're just a little nervous, like the regular nerves you have when you want to do something new, right? Because you've been there. What would you say to that person? So they're like, I don't know if it worked for me. I don't, yeah. What would you say to that person?
Yeah, I think Dr. Una has said this before, but like think about where you are now. Think about where you'd like to be in a year. And I would say that it's going to require some action to get to that next level. And then what is that action? And what do you think is the best action or the best fit action? For me, I was one of those last minute people that signed up at like the last possible second for the EntreMD business school, at 11:59 p.m. or whatever. And ultimately, like for me, it was really just that, like, man, I'm just going to be like in the same place if I don't do something differently, and really recognizing that, sitting with it, coming to terms with it, and making a decision with, great intention to do something different. And it starts with that decision. And then there's a lot to actually achieving it, but it starts with that decision, the commitment, to yourself and to your goals and to your bigger why, right? Like, I think those are the things that really are great drivers for us.
I love it. Thank you for sharing that. And you're right, it's a decision, and we don't want to be in the same place. Like, that's just something we don't want to do. So congrats to you. I'm so grateful for all of your wins, and you're doing a lot of heavy lifting. So you're just setting the stage for win after win after win. So rooting for you. And as always, I'll be celebrating you.
Thank you.
Nonstop. All right, guys, let's show Dr. Merritt some love in the chat. Some love in the chat. Some love in the chat. Okay, so this is the deal. Okay, so I talked about your homework, which will be in the Facebook group. I've talked about what we're going to be talking about tomorrow, because we want you to do all of these things with grace. And if the person we're talking to is you're like, I'm committed to my business. I want to build a successful business. I want to grow as an entrepreneur. I'm interested in hyper growth. I don't want to do this alone. I want to be in a community of literal vision boards, like people doing all the things you want to do. And I want the accountability. It used to be there was not a place, right? It used to be. And people say, okay, so do I do an MBA instead? But the promise of an MBA is a 6-figure salary. I don't know if you've ever looked at their website. Like 87% of our people now earn $116,000. That's not what we're here for. We want to get back autonomy. We want to build businesses that ultimately will work without us. We want to build great teams so we can have our time back. And so we're not dealing with burnouts. We want to create financial freedom for ourselves. But most importantly, we want to have huge impacts. That's why we became physicians in the first place. Okay, so if it's you and you're like, I just need that mentorship, I need the community, I need the accountability, your next step is to fill out an application on EntreMD.com/business. Okay, Nikita will reach out. We will answer any questions you have. We just want to get you to a point where you're like, you know what, absolutely, sign me up, or absolutely not. That is just not the thing for me. Okay, I would love to have you in class next Wednesday, and that's going to be super amazing. So I will see you. For those of you filling out applications, Makita will reach out to this evening. For everyone else, I'll see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. Okay. Dr. Toomer is family medicine. That's her specialty. Family medicine, but she has multiple verticals. She has a vertical that's like a private practice, and then there's the coaching model as well. So she's a total rock star. Okay, so I'll see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. Okay, if there are any doctors in your world you love in any kind of way, bring them with you. Okay, all right, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Good night, everybody. Good night, Dr. Kristen. Good night.